Oh, look at this guy. Look
There
at
he
you.
is. There he is. Come to talk some shit.
No, why would I do it? Come on, man.
Let's go.
How long have I known you for? I'm not going to come in here and talk trash until later on, at least.
Let's go. Come in hot.
All right, Jack. Here's what I saw. They announced a new Nintendo Switch. When are you going to step it up and let me beat your ass in Mario Kart? How about that?
I want it to be a public event.
September 11th seems like a pretty public event to me.
Public event.
Do you want me to come up still?
I want to shame you in public.
How are you, buddy?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Look, I was just talking with Giancarlo here about all the stuff you have going on, and man, with the album, with Claro, with Lord, Shadow of the City, where I'm gonna destroy you publicly for everyone to see. I mean, you got some stuff happening, my man.
Nothing matters like what I'm gonna do to you in front of a live audience.
Is this gonna be the whole interview? Are we just gonna talk this trash the whole time?
I guess we should probably move on, but I just want you
to... No, we can. That's fine with me, because I will get in the Splatoon racer as Shy Guy, and I will whoop you. I will whoop you like you cussed in front of your parents when you were 5 years old.
Well, I think you've already the fact that you use Shy Guy as an avatar is just already such an L that I can't, you've done it to yourself.
What I'm going to do to you is hit the R button and look while you're in the rear view mirror when I win on September 11th.
I think the idea that you even as a player would use the rear view function proves that you don't have your eye on the prize.
I'm going to use it while I'm crossing the finish line to see you in the rear view. That's all.
I think you're going to use it while you're drifting and fly off the course, but that's my opinion.
You know what? We can just end the interview now. This is great. Thank you, Jack Antonoff. It's been great, man. Good luck on the album now.
Yeah, great. Dude, take care.
All right, dude. You got a whole bunch of awesome new songs. You got to work with the boss. You got all this stuff going on with Bleachers. How excited are you right now?
You know how I describe it? That scene, and I was just telling someone that scene in Twister when the final tornado comes and they're hanging onto that thing. That's how I feel, because it's real emotional and intense to release stuff, and it's a part of the creative process. You write things and you record them, but they're happening in this real insular place, and then you put them out, and then the conversation starts emotionally with your audience. So I just feel like, tie me down, because I don't want to blow away.
Has it been weird with this album, Jack? Because I don't know, would this have been out had things not happened with the pandemic? Would this have been out last year? It
wouldn't have. And and it's it's almost like these two phases. It's like there's the floaty, I'm writing, I'm having ideas, and then there's the holy shit, I know what I'm doing, and now I can make and finish this album. In many ways, that phase is tougher, because once you know what it is, you know what it is, and you see the parameters, you know what you're missing, you know the level it has to be at. So the pandemic entirely changed the sound of the album, but it didn't change the release of it. I was on a journey that, I know when it's done, and it was finished when it was finished. But it's also why I wanted to put out Chinatown and 45 last year, is because those were done and those were statements, and I didn't want to leave my people hanging. I wanted to be present for them, even if it was just 2 songs. I wanted to be in that conversation during that year.
I was just wondering, and I want to talk about 45 and Chinatown in a second. I'm just wondering, when you're writing an album, things are normal, quote unquote, in the world. You can go to shows, you can live a normal life, you can get that vibe, but it had to be harder to write these songs and not have that day-to-day vibe of, New York's vibrant, Jersey, wherever you are, everything's going on. That had to be a little tougher to come up with this music for that one.
I'd done a lot of writing before the pandemic. I sort of figured out some framework, and then I spent the pandemic more producing the album, which was a gift, because I could get my band in a room and say, hey, play like you're never going to play ever again. And they'd say, cool. And they'd do it, and they'd think they were doing it. But when that really comes off the table, when you really can't go out and play live and do the thing that your whole career you were told is the one thing that you can control, that everything else is floating around, but you can go out, find your audience, and play like hell to them, and that's real. When that goes away and you put your band in the room, it's a level of playing that you didn't know was possible, and it shouldn't be possible because it's real. It's until it's actually almost gone. We played in this feral way. We played like we were almost like we were back in the basement as kids dreaming of having an audience because we were forced to dream of having an audience because in a way we didn't know if we would be able to be there again.
Like it's that first time you set up in the garage at home and you're like, all right, nobody's here right now, but maybe one day we'll play for a room full of folks here in Jersey.
All the what ifs come back.
Mm-hmm.
And before the pandemic, I mean, there's still an endless list of what ifs, but with live, you get to this point where you're a band where it's like we go out there and we kill it, and we give more and more and more to our audience, and they give us more and more, and it's a really like beautiful and stable relationship. Extremely emotional, can be extremely intense, but we're not fucking around and they're not fucking around. And so when that goes away and you put a what if on that part of the puzzle, it just it created a kind of playing that I've never personally experienced before for obvious reasons.
But it brings out so much intensity in you guys now, being not teenagers starting a band, but seasoned musicians doing your thing. It's like I can go to that next level, and that's awesome that you guys were able to do that. Well,
it lit the band on fire. I mean, like, I would have produced the album differently, would have sounded differently. The band would have been much less of a character, but they're a huge character. They're the force pushing me and the lyrics through the album. They're the joy and the hope and all the unhinged, sentiments is them. And it's the way we played, and it's because of this, and would have been a very different record. But that's also been the story of not just the pandemic, but anything in life that's tough or unexpected is like, you're going to let it kill you, or you're going to find out how it's going to be an interesting part of the story.
It's not like you can stop the life curveballs every day and know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen an hour from now, neither do you. So you just take it and do your best.
Yeah. And that's, look, maybe we're at day one of some crazy PTSD from the pandemic, or maybe we're really resilient and we just went through some real crazy shit, and we're going to be able to step out of it and move on. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but at least when I'm writing and recording, I lean towards the latter of, we're pretty tough.
Absolutely. Well, let's let me ask you about Springsteen, because Chinatown, day that came out, had to play that along with 45 for everyone to hear. How'd you hook up with the boss, man? Like that's a Jack Antonoff dream come true, I'm sure.
Totally. He's, I loved a lot of music my whole life, but his music was the first where I literally heard the landscapes I know, but also the sentiments where I was like, oh, I know what you're talking about in many ways. We've become friends through the years, and him and Patty have become really important people to me, and just some of the best people I know as humans, as artists. And we were just playing each other records. I had written Chinatown, and I was playing like an early version of it, and they got a studio attached to their house. So we kind of drifted in there. We were messing around with it. Sounds silly, but I didn't think a ton of it until, because, someone has influenced you in a great way and is also a friend. It's, it's not like, you're not just like, oh, let's do a song together. It's almost the opposite. It's almost like, there's too much to fuck up here. But I went home and I was listening to just all of us messing around in that song, and I was like, Jesus, this works. Like this full circle quality of him having an influence on me even writing a song like that, and then the songs sounding like Bleachers in my experience, and also being completely its own thing. And then you get to the second chorus and he comes in, takes over the lead vocal. I was floored by it. I was just like, this is beautiful, and this completely works and means so much to me. And I always hate it when these like big magical stories are just sort of boiled down to like, it was organic, it just happened, but it kind of did. And
but that's the best story. You could say, look, it wasn't like, we were paid to just do this project or something. We came together, I'm hanging with Bruce, and we made this song, and it was awesome.
Yeah. It wouldn't have worked any other way. If I had the idea to do a song with him, I would never have been able to write that song. I would never been able to do it right. Certain things have to just happen. And there's a lot of stories like that on this album, even the pandemic being its own character of this thing that happened that then caused the band to happen to play a certain way. There's a lot of letting go of the reins.
Well, the album's coming out end of this month, Jack. You only got a couple weeks, and I know that's got to be like churning the butterflies in a great way for you, that it's finally coming. What's when Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night comes out, what's the perfect time to listen to it? What's the vibe you're going for on this? Like, are we driving? Are we going somewhere on a highway at night? Are we just chilling at home during the day? What are we getting with this?
It's highway at night is good. It's I mean the record is built in these. It's a lonely record, but it's also a communal record. And so you can kind of lean into two sides. On one hand, you can feel the band in the room, and it's starting to like throw on with your friends. On the other hand, it's me combing through some serious and kind of is a walk alone with headphones record. There's definitely a loneliness and a hope through loneliness that I think always works with Bleachers. So if it's me, it's a drive, it's a walk alone, something like that.
And by the way,
I do love a headphone listen just because I work a lot in headphones, so it's a way to sort of get super close to how I made it.
I try to do headphones for the first one so you really hear everything. It's not good when you're half paying attention with the windows down and you got it up loud, but you're like, I really want to pay attention to something.
Totally. I like sort of like learning about an album through headphones, and then to your point, I can play it in other places, and I can know all these little intricacies and then they're sort of like my little secrets.
Exactly. And well, not only do we have that coming this month, but Clairo in a few weeks too.
Yeah.
You helped her out there. Were you doing her record and Lord's at the same time, or was it like, I have this space for Clairo, then I'm going to go and do my thing with Lord and everything else?
Things are pretty chopped up. There's not a ton of overlap. I tend to like personally work on things, just jump around. But in terms of like the time periods where things are being made, it's usually pretty carved out. And it's funny because there's like, in one hand, there's endless overlap. On the other hand, they're polar separate. Everything is totally in their own little zone. I don't think about it too much. I just sort of go where I feel really inspired and then kind of let that be the compass.
That's awesome. What about the show on the bus? We were talking earlier about the band really feeling inspired. And I just saw like, it was so different, but so knowing you in New Jersey and a bus is totally symbolic of going on a ride somewhere through Jersey into New York or something, going to the Port Authority. That's what I thought about. But I just thought that was so cool. Like, how'd that come together?
We're just always trying to just make it as special as possible, so anytime we do anything, whether it's like, I had seen a lot of the live streams and I thought, okay, well, I want to do them, but I want to do our own weird shit, twisted version of it. And it's usually me and my manager is also my best friend, just sort of talking, being like, what could we do? Like, and that one just got kind of literal, like, because the album is literally the sound of, starts in my apartment, you leave the city over the George Washington Bridge, you go into New Jersey. That's literally the theme of the album, lyrically and sonically. The deeper metaphor there is obviously sort of going home to find one's future, but it's also a sonic thing. So then we were talking about that, and we were like, well, what if we did that? How do we do that? And then we were thinking, flatbed truck, Stones did that, okay. And then we were thinking, well, what's sort of the tri-state area version of it? We're like, oh, crosstown bus. And
bingo.
Yeah, and then once him and I get an idea that excites us, it's it would take a stick of dynamite to not make it happen. Like, we're gonna figure it out.
That's awesome. And I also like, Jack, I saw that you were talking about vintage vinyl the other day, how they're closing this month, and I just thought that was really cool because like every time my wife and I would go to a different place for vacation, we try to find that record store in town and go visit. So I mean, like, record stores to me, it's the place to discover, because we're music nerds. Besides doing what we do, we're actual music nerds too. And to see another record store close, it breaks my heart.
Yeah. The only thing that gave me some peace about it was that the owners were just like, we're done. We want to go on vacation and do stuff. At least they weren't like, the industry's dying, because it's not. The industry's starting to boom again. But yeah, those places, they're church. They're not. It's not where you go buy a washing machine. It's where you go learn and and you walk into a place and you're overwhelmed with the feeling that there's 100,000 things in here that could change your life in 100,000 different ways and completely alter or eclipse the version of your life that you've been going with, and you're powerless to that. So you just sort of walk into it with hopes and dreams and find something, and it's an amazing thing. It's a really, really amazing thing.
When you write a song, do you think about how it's going to sound on the vinyl? Like, do you think, I just hope someone discovers this song and puts it on a record player, or, because out of the phone, it's great. Like, we have the world, we have every song possible, but on a vinyl, it's an intimate thing, just like listening on headphones.
My version of that is when I work on things and I'm really just working my ass off to get it sound how I want. If I get something where I want it, it's going to sound great on vinyl. So the way I hold that concept is more like, if I take this to the final level of what I'm hearing, then the icing on the cake is going to be getting that test pressing and hearing it on the vinyl, because it's just, there's not a frequency, there's not a sound, there's not a style of music that doesn't sound better on vinyl.
Mm-hmm. And did it, like, when you got the test pressing of the new album, were you like, yes, it's done, this is it, this is like,
oh yeah,
it's all good to go?
I was sitting alone, having an out-of-body experience. You're at the end of something and the beginning of something. It's truly the end and the beginning. You're at the end of making this thing and the beginning of, and it's being born into the world. And it's just really heavy, and you're split in these two places, where on one hand you're reliving yourself as you were having these ideas and writing them, but on the other hand you're listening and you're like putting it all together, because you write from the future. You don't write something you write something you want to know. And so you're hearing yourself ask these questions, and as you listen back, you're starting to get some answers to them. It's a pretty intense experience.
That's awesome. Jack, last thing, I know I gotta let you get back. I'm sure you've got 8 million other records to produce today, and
I'm saying that
a ton of work to do. Last thing I wanted to know, with the tour coming up, with everything, like, what are we going to get with the Bleachers shows? Because, like, I can always picture seeing you throwing your arm up in the air, getting the crowd all pumped up. Are you going to throw your arm out of socket because you're going to be so out of control with the adrenaline and everything?
I might just explode on stage. I don't know. Live music is the least cynical place on earth. It's where all the bullshit drifts away, and you have the music and the real audience, not the peanut gallery, but the real audience who cares and is there for it. So you're talking about a space that is already sacred and beautiful and non-cynical. I don't know how it gets to another level, but here it comes. It's crazy.
I just can't wait, because
I can't wait either.
Every show, I see all these shows, every band's booking up stuff, and I'm like, I want to go to this and this and this, because it's been a year and a half for all of us.
It's going to be one of the great, decade, if not longer, of live music.
Yeah.
One question before you go: what's it like to be trash at Mario Kart?
Oh, see, I was going to come with
question.
One.
No, it's just a question.
First off, how dare you?
No, it's just a question. There's no context. There's no context. It was just a question, and it's sort of on you to answer it how you want.
All through the last year,
do you feel embarrassed? Do you feel shame? I'm just wondering what the emotions behind it are.
I was looking forward to this conversation. I'm like, I get to see my friend Jack, chit chat with him, and hopefully I can see you down the road and whip your ass on September 11th at Shadow of the City or something. Yeah,
just wondering if it's a tough thing with, like, friends and family, colleagues, to sort of like walk the earth and know that you might be great at a lot of things, but that Mario Kart's not one of them.
I hate you and I love you at the same time, buddy. All right, last thing, absolute last thing.
Oh, really?
You get to pick, because I was gonna, you get to pick one place to have a Bleachers album release party. I love the video you guys did in the diner. I thought that was great. I was like, you guys could totally pull off a diner show. Where would it be? One spot.
Now I want to do a parking lot, because so much of my life has been parking lots. So now I'm just like, let's just go to a parking lot and I'll get together there. I'll work on that.
Excellent, man. Well, end of the month, we got the new Bleachers album, Taking the Sadness Out of Saturday Night. Shadow of the City's coming up. Claro's record, Lord, I'm going to whip you in Mario Kart. We got a lot of stuff going on.
Got a lot of stuff. And jokes aside, I love talking to you, and thank you for just all the support and all this stuff. And I'll see you soon.
All right, dude. You're the best. I'll see you on September 11th. I'll be there.
Can't wait.
All right, buddy.
Take care.